Kaw is a fictional character from the Mowgli stories written by Rudyard Kipling. Kipling describes him as an exceptionally long, yellowish Indian rock python. Kaw is one of Mowgli's mentors and friends. He, Baloo and Bagheera sing for Mowgli the Outsong of the jungle. First introduced in the story Kaw's hunting in the Jungle Book, Kaw is a huge and powerful snake, more than 100 years old and still in his prime. Despite his polite, unhurried demeanor, animals seem to have a fearful respect for Kaw. Bagheera and Baloo enlist Kaw's help to rescue Mowgli when the man-cub is captured by the Bandar-log and taken to an abandoned human city. Kaw breaks down the wall of the building in which Mowgli is imprisoned and uses his serpentine hypnosis to draw the monkeys towards his waiting jaws. Bagheera and Baloo are also hypnotized, but Mowgli is immune because he is human, and breaks the spell on his friends. In the second Jungle Book, Kaw appears in the first half of the story The King's Ankus. After he and Mowgli spend some time relaxing, bathing and wrestling, Kaw persuades Mowgli to visit a treasure chamber guarded by an old cobra beneath an ancient city. The cobra tries to kill Mowgli but its poison has dried up. Mowgli takes a jeweled item away as a souvenir, not realizing the trouble it will cause in the second half of the story, and Kaw departs. In Red Dog, Mowgli asks Kaw for help when his wolf pack is threatened by rampaging dolls. Kaw goes into a trance so that he can search his century-long memory for a stratagem to defeat the dogs. With Kaw's help, Mowgli tricks the dolls into attacking prematurely. Kaw takes no part in the resulting battle, but Mowgli and the wolves finally kill all the dolls, though not without grievous losses. Kaw makes his last appearance in the spring running, as the teenage Mowgli reluctantly prepares to leave the jungle for the last time. It is hard to cast the skin, he tells Mowgli, but Mowgli knows he must cast the skin of his old life in order to grow a new one. Disney Films, The Jungle Book. In the 1967 Disney animation The Jungle Book, Kaw, voiced by Sterling Holloway, is markedly different from his original counterpart. Rather than being a mentor, he serves as comic relief who twice attempts to trap Mowgli in his coils in order to devour him throughout the film. He does this through the use of hypnotic eyes as opposed to the original version, in which he uses a serpentine dance to control his prey. His attempts to eat Mowgli always end in a comical failure. He is also quite cowardly, attempting to curry favor with Shere Khan whenever he is around. Kaw makes his first appearance near the beginning of the film when Bagheera and Mowgli stop to sleep for the night in a huge jungle tree. Bagheera, exhausted from their journey, quickly begins to fall asleep. Mowgli, on the other hand, is still awake, sleepy and frustrated that he is being forced to leave the jungle where he lives. Just as Mowgli insists he can look after himself, Kaw, a long python with luminous eyes, slithers down from the foliage towards the young boy. The snake clearly thinks Mowgli will make a tasty meal, smacking his lips and calling him a delicious man-cub. Mowgli tries to avoid his gaze before pushing the snake away, telling him to go away and leave me alone. Bagheera hears this and assumes the boy is addressing him. He tells Mowgli to go to sleep. Hearing this, Kaw seems inspired as he nods his head and slithers back over to the man-cub, his eyes filling with multicolored spirals as he whispers, "Yes, man-cub, please go to sleep." Mowgli foolishly stares into the serpent's eyes, still angry at the snake, and finds his own eyes becoming captivated. They fill with spirals as he is pulled forward, his mouth falling ajar as he attempts to get closer to the hypnotic eyes. Kaw continues his lullaby, swaying and revolving his head so as to confuse Mowgli further. Mowgli's arms fall limp by his sides and his legs drop either side of the branch as his eyes follow the snakes, dragging his tired body with them. Soon, Kaw's tail comes from behind the trunk and slides over Mowgli's lap, curling around his waist and binding his arms to his side before spiraling slowly up the boy's skinny frame. Meanwhile, Mowgli is having a mental battle, struggling between the temptation of sleep and the need to keep staring into Kaw's eyes. As a result, his eyelids droop and reopen constantly, his head lolling. Deep in the recesses of his hypnosis-addled mind, he realizes he needs to alert his chaperone. At first he merely yawns but manages to stammer out Bagheera's name sleepily before Kaw silences him with his tail wrapped tightly around the boy's neck, making him gulp loudly. Mowgli is now engulfed from the waist to the neck in coils. His eyes spin at an incredibly fast rate and a wide grin forms on his face. Bagheera, having heard Mowgli's cry for help, tells him no more talk till morning. Only for Kaw, in his arrogance, to reply he won't be here in the morning. This alerts Bagheera to the danger and he leaps up, seeing Mowgli dangling in Kaw's coils, only his sleeping head and bare feet protruding. He smacks the snake hard in the jaw, making him drop Mowgli. Angered, Kaw turns on Bagheera and hypnotizes him. While Kaw is absorbed in his prey, a confused but awake Mowgli clambers out of his limp coils and shoves them off the branch with his feet. Kaw is dragged from the tree at great speed, landing in a pile of his own coils. He slithers into the undergrowth, only stopping momentarily as his tail gets stuck in some bamboo. Kaw reappears later on in the film when Mowgli runs away from Baloo, who is trying to return the boy to his own kind. Mowgli comes to rest at the base of a large tree before a long dark tail comes down and pulls him up into the canopy. Up on a branch, Mowgli is trying to release himself from Kaw's coils. Kaw attempts to hypnotize Mowgli again but Mowgli is still trying to escape his clutches. Eventually, Mowgli succeeds in untangling himself and begins walking off down the branch but is stopped by Kaw, fastening a coil over his eyes. Mowgli, bewildered, tries to pry the coil off. He succeeds only to be met with Kaw's spinning hypnotic eyes. Mowgli quickly falls under his spell again as Kaw begins to sing "Trust in Me," inducing Mowgli into a soothing trance, sleepwalking down his body with a big smiling grin on his face, before coming to rest on a hammock of Kaw's coils. Soon, Kaw throws Mowgli up into the air, balancing the boy upside down on the tip of his tail. Mowgli's body goes rigid and he begins to snore. Kaw berates the man-cub before sliding him into his thick, brown coils, yet again with only his bare feet and head poking out. This attempt to eat Mowgli is also foiled, ironically by Shere Khan, who is not convinced by Kaw's bluff, even after searching Kaw's coils and not feeling Mowgli inside. The distraction caused by Khan allowed Mowgli to regain consciousness and escape. Holloway decided to play Kaw with a lisp, a condition that composers Sherman Brothers brought into the character's song in the Jungle Book, "Trust in Me." This particular version of the character also inspired Bollywood superstar, Shah Rukh Khan in his performance as the title character in Don 2. Khan cited the villainous sensuality of the character as an inspiration. The Jungle Book 2. In the Jungle Book 2, Kaw reappears in a smaller role. This time around he shifts his interests to Shanti, who is lost in the jungle. First scaring her into looking into his eyes, she is quickly enticed and her eyes begin to mirror his. She starts to smile and drops the torch she is holding. Her mouth hangs open as Kaw brushes back her hair and slides around her neck. He asks if she is lost, he makes her nod, then whether she is hungry, because he is starved. The young girl cannot look away and is guided onto a small rock. As Kaw hangs above her, she shuffles her bare feet around and stands on tiptoe in an effort to get closer to the python's eyes. He attempts to eat her whole. But, as he attempts to swallow her, Ranjan, Mowgli's stepbrother, knocks her out of the trance, causing Kaw to swallow a boulder and getting a severe beating from Ranjan. The second Jungle Book, Mowgli and Baloo, Kaw serves as a help and a hindrance for Mowgli in this film. When Mowgli is being chased through the jungle, he eventually comes to rest on a high branch of a tree. The tired boy soon falls into a deep sleep, his dirty feet dangling from the branch. Then, Kaw the python, sent by Mowgli's pursuers, slides down from the branch above. The snake cascades down the boy's shoulders and wraps around his torso like a blanket. Mowgli, having grown up in the jungle, was a deep sleeper and was, if anything, soothed by the snake's caress rather than awoken. However, as the dark brown scales tighten around his belly, the man-cub regains consciousness and, drowsily realizing his predicament, screams loudly. Ignoring this, the snake easily manipulates the boy's gangly frame by twisting him round to hang from the branch. As the thick coils slide over Mowgli's bare soles, the snake lets go, dropping Mowgli down to the forest floor. Later, when Mowgli is trapped in a pit in the temple, the python is lowered down towards him. Mowgli seems quite friendly towards his savior and grabs onto its neck. The snake is pulled upwards like a rope with Mowgli hanging on tightly. Other appearances: Kaw also appeared in the short-lived TV series Jungle Cubs, this time seen as a friend of the other animals when they were cubs. Although he still uses hypnosis on occasion, his skills at this age are far less efficient than when used as an adult, with him failing to hypnotize a sleeping Baloo and only hypnotizing a couple of vultures by accident. He was also seen having far a less malevolent personality as a cub than as adult, once going to great lengths to save Baloo after he believes that he has endangered his friend with his hypnotic abilities, but he still has his sneaky ways in which he often attempts to hypnotize the other cubs, partly threatening on one occasion. He was also seen in the prologue to the series on the Disney video version, where he again happens to be in the tree under which Mowgli is sleeping. Strangely, he does not seem to recognize Mowgli as he slithers to observe his prey. Then, he wakes Mowgli up only to hypnotize him again, and makes him rise towards him. Before Mowgli falls completely into a trance, Baloo thwarts Kaw away. His voice was done by Jim Cummings, who reprised this role in Jungle Cubs, The Jungle Book 2 and Disney's House of Mouse. Kaw appeared briefly in the feature film Mickey's House of Villains, where he sang again during the main villain musical number. A snake-like character resembling Kaw made a cameo during the final scene of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Ubisoft and Disney Interactive Studios released the Jungle Book Groove Party for the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 video game consoles. The game featured Kaw as a character and also featured Kaw singing A Mood for Food. A far more menacing incarnation of the character appeared in the 1994 live-action adaptation. He was brought to life using an anaconda, but the bulk of his appearances were made using a mixture of CGI and animatronics. He seemed to serve King Louis, killing any intruders to the city when the orangutan clapped his hands to summon him. He tackled Mowgli into a moat inside the capital and attempted to drown him, but Mowgli wounded him with a bejeweled dagger, the python fleeing in a cloud of its blood. By the time Mowgli returns to the city with Carpattan William Boone and Kitty, Kaw has fully healed from their prior confrontation. Mowgli flees with Kitty when he hears Louis summoning the snake, who then scares the injured Boone into the moat, where the heavy load of treasure he was carrying weighs him straight to the bottom in a cloud of his own blood. Desperately trying to struggle free, Boone sees the skeletal remains of Kaw's past victims, just seconds before the villain finally meets his death by the snake. In the Japanese anime series Jungle Book Shounen Mowgli, Kaw's personality is closer to the books than the Disney series. In the Jungle Book, Kaw is given a more ferocious personality than in the books, but at the same time he is friends and allies with Mowgli, Bagheera, and Baloo. Kaw will be voiced by Scarlett Johansson in the upcoming 2015 film directed by Jon Favreau and by Kate Blanchett in the 2016 film directed by Andy Serkis. References. External links.